Good morning. This is Paula at the Giodone Library, and this is Paula's Picks. And today, I'm going to get away from the snow and winter and holidays and read books about pigs. My first book is called The Great Grand Plan. The Great Grand Plan. It is written by Ellie Woolard and illustrated by Stephen Lenton. The pig had a house in the wild, wild woods. It was safe, it was strong, it was snug, it was good. So when the bad wolf started howling and prowling and skulking and scowling and grizzling and growling, the pig said, "Old wolf, you can blow till you're blue, but you'll not break my house down, whatever you do." Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The wolf simply glared, then slunk slowly away. But there on the pathway, the very next day, the pig found a note that said, "Top secret plan. Number 1, eat the 3 little pigs." It's crossed out. Number 2, gobble Red Riding Hood's gran, nice and hot. "No," cried the pig. "Oh, my trusty old trotter, that stinking old fleabag, that wily old rotter." And he leaped to the wheel of his rusty old van, crying, "Pig to the rescue! Save that gran! I'll snatch him, I'll catch him, that wolf won't escape. But first, what I need is a super pig cape." So he dashed through the town till he came to a stall. They hadn't a cape, but they gave him a shawl. Then he leaped to the wheel of his rusty old van, crying, "Pig to the rescue! Save that gran!" Now I'll have to be sneaky. I might have to spy. Binoculars. Yes, I should give them a try. So he dashed to the shop, and there weren't any there. But he did find some rather fine specs, the last pair. Then he leaped to the wheel of his rusty old van, crying, "Pig to the rescue! Save that gran! I'll swoop on the wolfie. I'll hoop him, I hope. But now what I need is some lovely strong rope." So he dashed to the city. The shops were so full, and the rope was sold out. But he did find some wool. Then he ran to the wheel of his rusty old van, crying, "Pig to the rescue! Save that gran!" But just as he came to the edge of the wood, he stopped most abruptly, as there the wolf stood. "Red Riding Hood's granny? Well, how do you do? Strangely enough, I've been searching for you. Although I admit that it's quite a surprise. You've such a strange nose and such small piggy eyes." I think she's a great. "Gran," thought the pig, and he took a long look. Then he quivered and quaked, and he shivered and shook. The wolf eyed him up and snarled, "Nice and plump. Not old and not chewy, just look at that rump. You'd taste rather rare in a roll, I would bet." And he lunged at the pig. But then down came a net. And there in the wood was Red Riding Hood's gran, who cried, "Think we can't catch you? You bet that we can." "You wicked old wolf, you may huff, you may puff, but I'm telling you now, I have had quite enough." Then she tied up the wolf from his nose to his tail, and together they took him and dropped him in jail. Fairy tale jail. "Thanks," cried the pig, but the gran said, "Thank you. That wolf would have minced me for gray granny stew." And linking together, they danced out a jig, the wolf-busting gran and the clever young pig. Yes, They both said, "We're an excellent team." And the wolf never came there again, it would seem. You see the wolf theories. He's in disguise now. The Great Grand Plan. Now let me read you another one called The Little Pig, the Bicycle, and the Moon. It's written by Harriet Dubé and illustrated by Orby, and I read this with permission from Simon and Schuster. The Little Pig, the Bicycle, and the Moon. Rosie, the little pig, had everything she needed to be happy. A large mud bath to play in, enough food to eat whenever she wanted, and a deliciously smelling pig pen. Play, eat, sleep. The little pig wanted nothing more. There she is in her mud. Until the day a red bicycle appeared in the yard. To her, it was a pure wonder. It was ridden by a small, very ugly animal that had no snout or curly tail. Rosie spent hours watching the small animal on the bicycle. That's easy. I could ride a bike too. One night, the little pig quietly snuck out of her pig pen. The yard was empty. Everyone was asleep except Rosie and the moon. You can watch if you want to, Moon. The bicycle, leaning against a wall, seemed to be waiting for Rosie. The little pig got onto the bike, started to pedal, but bunk! The bicycle fell on its side. She tried several more times, but the same thing happened. It's more complicated than I thought, said Rosie. There is probably something I'm doing wrong, but what? The next day, she again watched the small animal on the bicycle. To start, he gave a good push with his foot. So that's the trick. I'll get it, and when I know how to pedal, I'll go to the other side of the world, and maybe even further. The next night, Rosie dragged the bicycle up the hill, thinking that would make it easier to gain speed. She was right. The bicycle took off, rolled a few yards, then began to zigzag, and boom, it crashed into the side of the hen house. The hens, awakened by the noise, were dying of laughter. How humiliating. A little shaken, Rosie decided it would be safer to wear a helmet. When she arrived the next night, the entire barnyard was already there, waiting for the show. The moon was there too, and Rosie felt as if it were watching over her like a friend. I know how, announced Rosie, climbing onto the bicycle. You must first give it a good push, and then it's important to keep your balance. Yes, it is. Rosie started down the sloped path that led to the pond. Well, the chickens followed her, cackling. She made it down the hill without losing her balance, but she couldn't make the turn just before the pond, and splash! Rosie was in the water with her bicycle. Poor Rosie. What's that? Man overboard, shouted the dog. She wants to ride a bike, answered the chattiest hen. It will never happen, gobbled the turkey. The dog looked at Rosie with sympathy. Come back tomorrow. I'll help you. Cycling is certainly an action-packed sport, thought Rosie, but it's so much fun. The next night, she put on her protective equipment, adding to it for extra safety a rubber tire and a snorkel. The dog was waiting for her as promised. I will pull you. He harnessed himself to the bicycle and pulled. The bicycle quickly gained speed. But suddenly a rabbit crossed the yard, running toward the vegetable garden. The dog could not resist the temptation to chase it. How do you put on the brakes? and Rosie landed on her back between the tomato plants and the leeks. Yeah, there she is. Rosie now added a new piece of equipment, a cushion in case of falls into the garden. With her new outfit, she felt invincible. This time, I'm completely ready. It's not enough to give yourself a good push and then keep your balance. You also have to know how to turn and put on the brakes. That night, the goat was called on to help. I will push you. She planted her horns and pushed straight ahead while Rosie pedaled furiously. After a few minutes, the little pig turned around and was astonished to see that the goat was gone. That's it! I can ride a bicycle all by myself. The moon had never been as bright as it was that night. You see, Moon, I did it. Thrilled, the little pig pedaled with all her might. She braked in front of the gate, opened it, turned right, rode up the hill, and disappeared into the moonlight. What became of her? No one knows. Some say she pedaled and pedaled without stopping until she reached the other side of the world. They say she now works in a circus where her performance is very famous. Others say that the other side of the world wasn't far enough for Rosie, and if you look up high when the sky is clear, you can sometimes see a little pig on a red bicycle pedaling on the moon. Did she go to the moon? Maybe. That's why she's up there, huh? Now let me read you one called The Peculiar Pig. This is written by Joyce Steuerwald and illustrated by Joyce Steuerwald. The Peculiar Pig. There was a different sort of piglet in the pig pen one spring morning. But Mama Pig didn't care. She loved her piglets all the same. To her, each one was special. The other piglets were bigger and stronger and often pushed this little piglet aside, but she was always willing to wait her turn. The day came when Mama Pig gave each piglet their name. She named them Freckles, Pinky, Prudence, Patch, Scrappy, Roly, and my shiny little one, Penny. The piglets grew bigger every day, and Penny grew longer. She sure is peculiar looking, Scrappy told Freckles. Penny didn't know why she was different. But Mama Pig told her, it doesn't matter, Penny. I love all my little piglets the same. As she grew, Penny started to sound different too. Arf, woof, woof, arf. Penny, you have a funny oink, Freckles said. And it's so loud, complained Patch. But Penny liked the sound she could make. She practiced her oinks, growls, and barks with Mama Pig while her sisters and brothers played in the mud. All the piglets became good diggers. Prudence watched Penny and told her, proper pigs use their snouts to dig. But my paws just work better, said Penny. Scrappy said, how peculiar. One day, the piglets were having fun racing around the farm. Wow, Penny sure is quick, said Roly. Even with those short little legs, Pinky giggled. Then something stopped them. in their tracks. It was a scary, hissing creature. All of a sudden, a fearsome sound came from deep inside Penny. Her sharp growl sent the creature slithering away. Wow, said the piglets. Thank you, Penny. Then they tried to bark just like Penny. Grink, grink. Penny laughed and said, now those are some peculiar growls. Then they all agreed that peculiar was perfect. And everyone was glad there was a different sort of piglet in the family. The end. So she was a little dog, huh? A little weedy dog. Now let me read my last book called Ribbit, and it is written by Rodrigo Folgueira and illustrated by Paula Bernatine. Ribbit. That's not what pigs say. Once upon a time, there was a pond that was home to a family of frogs. It was their pond, and they were very happy living there. But one morning, they discovered a surprise visitor. It was a pig, a little pink pig, sitting on a rock. Goodness, said the frogs, why is there a pig in our pond? They whispered amongst themselves until finally the chief frog spoke up. Good morning. What can we do for you? And to their amazement, the little pig answered, Ribbit. What did he say? Cried the frogs. This pig is confused. Does he think he's a frog? Is he making fun of us? But again, all the little pig said was, Ribbit. News of the little pig, who thought he was a frog, spread fast, and all the animals hurried to the pond to see their visitor. This new relative of yours is a little pink, said the raccoon. He's no relation of ours, declared the frogs. He certainly sounds like a frog, said the weasel. Why would a pig want to be a frog, said the parrot. And what's wrong with being a frog, may we ask? Exclaimed the frogs. Everyone started shouting at each other, completely ignoring the little pig, who just sat there practicing his ribbits. The animals laughed and laughed, and the frogs got angrier and angrier, until finally the chief frog shouted out, Stop! We're not getting anywhere by fighting. We must go and find the wise old beetle. He'll know what to do. The wise old beetle, gasped all the animals, but he hates to be disturbed. I know, said the chief frog, but this is very serious. That's true, the animals agreed, and off they went. And the little pig said, Ribbit? The animals found the wise old beetle and tried to explain the problem. It was hard for him to understand because they were all talking at once. In the end, he agreed to go with them to the pond. But when they arrived, no one's there. Where did the pig go? The animals cried. Who was he? What did he want? Maybe, said the wise old beetle, he just wanted to make a new friends. And off he went. Oh dear, said the animals. They hadn't thought of that. And sure enough, sitting on a branch high up in a tree nearby was the little pig. Tweet, he was surrounded by new friends. Tweet, 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 tweet. Now he has a whole bunch of friends, the whole pond and everybody there. So now I'm going to show you how to make a pig nose. Let me put on my pig nose that I got done. There it is. There it is. A pig's nose. So what you need is an egg carton. The one that's cardboard-like is the best, but not necessary. And string to put around your face. And you need something like paint to paint the nose, or if you don't have paint, a crayon will work too. And yours doesn't have to be pink like mine. There are like brown pigs, and there's black and white pigs, and all sorts of pigs. You can have a white pig, whatever color you want. So then the first thing you want to do is cut one of the circles where the eggs are in off of the cardboard egg carton, and then round it out. You have to round it out a little bit because it's going to have these sides sticking out with your scissors. You need scissors too. There it is. And then the next thing you want to do is take something sharp, like a sharpened pencil, or maybe a pen, or a sharper thing if your parents help out. So make sure your parents help out to make these holes. And you want to make 2 holes on each of your sides by poking the pencil through. Poke the pencil through. There we go. So we can put the string on. And then go ahead and paint it or color it. You can color it with this too. Actually works really nice. Finish that. Then you want to take a piece of string, measure it around your head to see how far. Oh, my nose fell off. You want it, but you want to kind of like, see, mine is a little bit too loose. So you want it to fit nicely around your head, but also give it room to tie. Stick it in, and you might have a parent help you with this too, because the string does kind of unravel a little bit. So what I do is take the pencil and help push it through. There we go. And then you can tie like a knot, or your parents can tie a knot on the end, and then it should stay. And then do the other end, and you have a pig nose you can wear. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Next Monday, we will have another science experiment to do. And so you guys have a good day.